Hello everyone, it's Leon here, and I am joined by Phil,
Hello.
who has been reviewing and playing Tearaway. And what did you give it?
It got 8.
And why?
Well, it's a very lovely game in a very consistent papercraft world that you could, by the look of it, sort of make all yourself.
Yeah.
And it really tries to push that idea. So all the puzzles are made out of sort of origami, papercraft sort of things.
Fancy one here. So this
So all the sort of, you see the shiny bits there of fingerprints. So
Yeah.
you use the touch screen and the rear touchpad to sort of constantly mould and fiddle with the world while you're sort of helping out Iota, or I think that's Atoir, the female character. So it's sort of like a co-op game between yourself and your on-screen avatar, which is a really brilliant idea.
because you appear as a face in the sun, don't you? So
Yes, which always freaks me out.
Yeah.
Just this frowning man staring back at me. And so yeah, I mean, I think only Media Molecule could make the Vita this entertaining and use all of its features so well.
It feels like it puts every other kind of Vita game to shame. Just the sort of the so this is tilting the PS Vita to move these pads around. You can stick your fingers through it. It does so much stuff with the Vita that it feels like every other attempt to do a touchscreen grenade or anything like that is a bit sort of embarrassing now.
It's a bit of a token, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's also like a really big making things element, as you might expect. So it's not so much building levels and things in Tearaway as sort of customizing the world. So at one point you have to design a snowflake. Like I think a moose takes offence to the fact that the snowflakes look really boring.
I think he's just bored of the snow, isn't he? He wants to
So,
draw new
yeah.
stuff. I think we're going to see the crafting stuff in a moment.
Okay. So you sort of go onto a craft table and cut things out, and suddenly this thing that you've just created candidly become the snowflakes.
Yeah.
So you've got these pink sort of shapeless things that become
We're
snowflakes.
going to see some here actually, because it pops up regularly, doesn't it? You have to make a crown. You have to make some, in this case, some eyes.
Yeah, and then there we go. So this is it. You pull the craft paper on, and then you cut things out and draw things, and so by the end of the game, you really have affected what the world looks like and what Iota or Atoir looks like as well. So, and obviously there's the option of making rude things, although I felt absolutely terrible the first time I did that. Like I just felt it was really against the spirit. I didn't feel big or clever, and I decided to sort of go back and just, although it looks like maybe they're doing something a little bit rude.
They're just doing nice. I did.
That's way too good. Like nothing I did was that quality.
Oh, I did loads. I made a crown that had like little jewels on it inset into it. I made some really complicated stuff. Although I did for some reason decide to do swastika snowflakes, like pink swastika snowflakes, and then felt awful for that entire level with these little swastika snowflakes going past. I don't know what made me do it. I just did it on the spur of the moment, and then it was done. It was too late.
It has a way of guiding you into being nice, because the atmosphere that pervades the whole game is so nice without ever being too overly sweet. I thought at first when I played it that it might feel a little bit happy clappy. No. And it isn't. It's just sort of gentle and a little bit magical, and really brings out your inner child.
I found it consistently sort of lovely and enjoyable and sweet, and it made me smile. Like every time it presented you the new idea, you're like, oh, this is lovely.
And there's also the option of, when you take a picture of certain things within the game, you have the option of uploading the blueprint up to a community site and then printing off the sort of papercraft thing that you would need to make it in real life as well.
So you can build your own bits and pieces.
You can build a moose or a tree or things like that. So you have a camera in the game that's sort of used for puzzles as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well as the
well, there are characters in the game, aren't there, that are white, and if you take a picture of them, that you give them their sort of colour back. So you've got to keep an eye out all the time for these little sort of white characters.
So the only thing really that I didn't get on with the game, we haven't really seen much of it so far, is the combat. So you're up against these little scraps. So they're sort of made out of scrap paper. They're not beautifully crafted like everything else in the game.
Yeah.
And so all of Tearaway, apart from the combat, is just full of good ideas, just bursting with good ideas. And then the combat is just jumping on things.
Well, it's not, the problem I have with the combat as well is it's built, until you get the ability to roll around in a ball, it's built around evading them.
Yeah.
Then they stun, they jump at you. If they don't hit you, they stun themselves, and you pick them up and you either throw them at the wall or you throw them at another scrap. But there isn't a kind of evade. You basically just have to kind of run out of the way, and there's a slight inertia to the movement that it just doesn't feel as well crafted as the rest of the game. Almost everything else in the game is beautifully made, beautifully presented, looks gorgeous, feels lovely, and then the combat is a little bit...
It feels almost as if they made the whole game without any combat and then sort of thought better of it and then rushed back, because the combat's actually very sort of compartmentalised as well. It's very separate. You know that a combat area is about to start because either there'll be a message or the music will change, and then all the fun bits will go away and you're just in a big arena with nothing to do but jump on things and, as you say, roll around. And I thought that was maybe the one area that let it down, other than feeling perhaps slightly like... After a couple of hours, I just felt like I was playing maybe some gimmicks, and I feel terrible saying that about Tearaway because it's such a lovely, endearing game. But there's a very, very tiny element of gimmickry to it. Other than that, I mean, it's just a lovely experience. So we should mention this is the glue on the walls that you use to traverse on vertical planes as well. So there's quite a few navigational tools at your disposal.
Yeah, and it deals out these sort of things at sort of quite a good pacing, so you don't even get jumping until sort of the first sort of 20 minutes or so in, and then later on you get sort of different abilities and different things. So it has a kind of it's not really gear gating, but every sort of hour or so, maybe a bit more, you get like a new thing to play with.
Yeah, and it's good at giving you playgrounds as well, like a fairly big sort of hub as soon as you get a new ability, so that you're just free to play and explore with that. So as soon as you do learn how to jump, you've got a big old kind of arena just for jumping around in, and it's full of like, I remember coming across these two squirrels that were throwing like a nut at each other, and I was like, oh brilliant. So I went along and I grabbed the nut and I threw it at one squirrel, and then he threw it back at me, and I was like, oh, brilliant. And then the other squirrel picked up another nut, and then we were timing it so that we were always throwing and catching it at the same time, and like, wow, I was just blown away.
See, that's another thing that makes the combat feel a little bit weird, because the first time I got into a battle or explained how the combat was going to work, I was a bit kind of like, well, I don't need to do this, because I'm having fun like poking my finger through it, and I'm having fun throwing nuts at squirrels and finding out how to get to areas, because there's these presents to get. You can see one popping up there that give you confetti, and confetti is the currency that you use to unlock sort of all your kind of outfits, and so you can buy like stickers and things to put on Iota. There's camera lenses and effects. There's almost like an Instagram thing in there.
Yeah,
you can
right.
take all these different
filters,
pictures.
Yeah.
All my elk have my cat's nose on the side of them, because when they were looking for textures, all I could find was my cat. So I took a picture of my cat's face, but when it got put onto an elk, all you can see is just a nose on one side of their body.
That sounds pretty horrific. But by the end of the game, you've got all this. Oh, that's actually a fantastic bit
the
as well.
The stuff, lovely, because it affects the sort of speed of what's going on around you. I love as well the fact they've got this kind of stop motion flickering on the animation. So when you see things moving, there is this kind of slight kind of frame rate effect that makes it look like it's stop motion and makes it look like it's been hand animated. I don't think I've ever seen anything recreate the effects so well, bar actual hand animation.
Stop motion, it's pretty incredible. It's something that they were working on really early on, and they've done fantastically well. I mean, even like the water effects that you saw there are actual sort of paper cut out water ripples and things like that. So the world is maybe the strongest asset, and the way that you interact with it is fantastic as well. It's only really the combat that lets it down a little bit, but it's absolutely worth picking up, and it is the best game on PlayStation Vita, perhaps slightly late. But there it is, all the same. So you can make your real paper craftings as well as messing around in the world.
I wonder how many people will do that. I had a look at the elk and very carefully put it to one side and didn't do it.
No one's going to be as good as Media Molecule at that sort of thing, are they?
They've made some beautiful stands at some of the events. They've sat there for days hand making these incredible models. It really does look lovely.
It's got to be someone's full-time job at Media Molecule to do those.
Anyway, there we go. 8 out of 10. Vita's finest moment.